I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, March the 24th, brought to you in part by Taleve by Norbrook. Unbreaking news, Taleve delivers the same fast and long-acting broad-spectrum activity you expect from a telithromycin injection, basically a generic Draxxin that we have several on the market, but it's exclusively in plastic bottles. How much easier does that make life? For more information, go to norbrook.com. Kansas quality, not referring to the tournament performance of the Kansas schools, but I hope you Jayhawker fans enjoy rooting the Wildcats on in the Sweet 16. But I'm talking about the quality of the fat cattle in Kansas. And I've made note of it several times. Your quality, and by quality I'm talking about quality grade. Basically I'm talking about fat. Or more importantly, marbling, which takes fat to get. But the quality of the cattle, the slaughter cattle in Kansas, has been excellent of late. Your latest report of grading showed that choice and better carcasses in Kansas were 86.39%. Nebraska was only 86.59%, so basically the same as Nebraska. Yet they're not getting paid for it. 163 this week was what the fat cattle brought in Kansas on a negotiated basis. You get up in Nebraska, 265. There were even a few stick-out deals. That's dressed, and that would be a whole lot better than that live price. And then a few stick-out live deals as high as 166 and even 167 that we heard about. And all the cattle in Kansas bring 163. Doesn't hardly seem fair. Of course, down in Texas, when you get all those Mexican cattle in there, and they're not the Mexican cattle that you thought of before. They weren't your daddy's Mexican cattle that were kind of cat-assed and narrow. They introduced a lot of continental breeding into those Mexican ranches, and now those cattle come in, and they're those big apple-assed cattle that we had back in the 80s here that just don't grade very hard or well because their muscling is so tight and heavy. And you get a lot of those English cattle, especially up in the northern plains. A lot of those are not excessively muscled up. They're thick, but it's not that tight muscling that you get from your continental influenced cattle. And that is what we are heavy on in Mexico. And whenever those cattle come up, and there's a lot of Mexican cattle on feed in Texas, and they just don't grade. And so Texas grading is running about 73.53% choice and better. But that is still so much better than what it was. I remember 25 years ago when I was working in Texas with livestock grading and marketing there. We were talking about your Texas cattle being from 35 to 65% choice, and heavy on the 35 and not necessarily the 65. Yes, the genetics is better. Yes, we have moderated the frame scores a little bit more, but I think as much as anything has to do with it is our camera grading, which the packing plants own the cameras. Meat grading does not own the cameras, and they don't get to come in there and calibrate those as often as they would like, or is what probably needs to be done. I have heard they are in the works of getting that changed, which could bring that grading down a little bit. But when you overgrade those carcasses with camera images, it's a perfect deal. The packers love it because the cattle are grading so well. So many people are selling off of carcass quality. They love it too, and the consumer doesn't know the difference. So it's a perfect deal for them. But you can only abuse that so long, and then you're going to start falling out of favor. People are going to have more unhappy eating experiences whenever they're paying choice price for those select carcasses. But it just doesn't seem fair that Kansas has such good cattle and are not getting paid for them, at least on a negotiated basis. Of course, everybody that's in the Formula Sweetheart deals, they are likely getting paid more than that, and we've seen that some on some of that new information that we've seen come out about the different carcass, the formula deals and how much better they are, but it's only $1.50 or so better. But why would they rather pay more for a formula deal? Because they know they've got those cattle and they've got the captive supplies there, and they want to get everybody that's selling negotiated to get on some type of formula program, get contracted up with them, and then there's no price discovery. So then they can just pull the rug out from under you like they did the hog people back in 1998, if you remember that. You know, what's the hog market? Who gives a shit? Nobody feeds hogs anymore. But, you know, we saw premiums being paid this week with Iowa selling cattle $1 to $2 higher, both live and dressed. Nebraska selling their cattle mostly steady, and the Southern Plains selling $1 cheaper. So we're starting to see that kind of deal go on again. But we had big movement of fat cattle trade on Wednesday. And I've told you guys many times before, why would your packers get aggressive early in the week and try to get cattle bought on a negotiated basis? Because they're short bought and they need the cattle. They've sopped up a lot of their captive supplies already this month. They can't pull any quite yet for next month, and they're short of cattle. They needed cattle. Nebraska sold over 20,000 head on Wednesday. Iowa sold nearly 20,000 on Wednesday. Kansas sold almost 11,000 on Wednesday, and Texas sold 5,500, which is not a lot, but it's more than they sold all of last week. And indeed, your Wednesday movement in your 5-area feeding region was larger just on Wednesday than all of last week. So, you know, we've seen pretty brisk movement. I think the negotiated guys have kind of lost a step here. They need to get, they need to regroup here, quit worrying about that basis quite so much, and sell their cattle and get more market position while the getting is good. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. April live cattle futures were down 15 cents at 162.15. For your Southern Plains guys, that's not much basis, 162.15 whenever you're selling your cattle at 163. June down 10 cents at 155.80. Your back months on live cattle down a nickel to down 42 cents. Feeder cattle, your nearby months kind of had a turnaround there late in the session. March feeder cattle up 77 cents at 189.02. April up 62 at 195 even. Back months on feeder cattle down 35 cents to up a dime. Your corn was lower again. May corn down 1 3/4 cent at 631 3/4. December new crop was down 2 1/4 cent at 552 1/4. Beans down hard, and they have been down, but beans have really been slipping here. A lot of pressure from heavy supplies of Brazilian beans. It's amazing how Brazil's ag products, you know, affect the market on ours. But beans were down 29 cents for the May contract at 14.19 1/2. And also we saw your Black Sea deal in the Ukraine, the deal with Russia, allowing them to export their grains. They have extended that deal to be able to move those shipments through the Black Sea. They've extended that for another 60 days, which made your wheat prices go down, even though our good to excellent quality gradings of our wheat in the Southern Plains, our winter wheat anyway, is terrible. And we're not going to have much of a wheat crop here, but you get in those big open spaces in those countries like Ukraine, and they have a lot of it. Let's talk about your fat cattle trade on Thursday, which was light because I told you they moved everything on Wednesday. Iowa just had confirmed sales of 1,700 on Thursday, 22,400 head for the week. Live sales in Iowa 165 to 166, and like I told you, that's $1 to $2 higher. Dress sales at 265, that's $1 to $2 higher. Nebraska 700 head confirmed on Thursday, 20,900 head for the week. Live sales in Nebraska 164 to 165. Dress sales 263 to 265. Kansas sold a couple of hundred theirs all on Thursday, 12,700 head for the week. Everything at 163. Texas did not have any confirmed sales on Thursday, and just 5,500 for the week. Box beef cutout values were mixed again with choice carcasses up 148 at 282.78. Selects down 93 cents at 268.89. Your slaughter running ahead of schedule here. 502,000 harvested for the first 4 days of the week. That's 1,000 more than last week. 17,000 more than the same week a year ago. Your actual slaughter information come back 2 weeks old there for average dressed steer carcass weight 903 pounds, up 4 pounds from the last report, and it just kind of depends on how bad the storms were, and they've had a storm about every week at least coming through the northern plains, so you're going to see a little bit up and down on your average dressed steer carcass weight. Talk about what else is going on. Safeguard dewormer, powered by Fenbendazole. Safeguard is highly effective with all formulations and proven to kill 91% of worms. For more information, go to safeguardworks.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction, that's a 7-day moving average based on an 800-pound auction cash steer up through your middle 12 states, just like your CME feeder cattle index, but late in the day on Thursday sitting at 188.79, up 82 cents. So that's the first day we've really seen it up. Had some big sales, stick out sales in the northern plains that pulled that thing back up. It's been running lower here for several sessions. I want to welcome Dublin Livestock in Dublin, Texas to our family of broadcast sale barns that we have every week. And Tanner Monk, the owner and operator there, he's more progressive than a lot of markets in that part of the country and that part of the state where, typically they're going to run a lot of small bunches, but he's got some specials planned and he's been having them with some bigger groups wanting to get some interest over the internet. So we're glad to hook up Dublin Livestock, and we'll be broadcasting them every week. Let's talk about your big sales on Thursday. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas had 3,500 head. That I pulled from your automated market report. Didn't have the federal state market report available at press time here, but feeders looked to me $2 to $3 lower. Calves were higher, especially 5-weight calves, $5 to $6 higher, and that's a lot easier trend, I guarantee you, than you'll get from the inept market reporters in Kansas there. But a stick out deal on some steers in Salina, Kansas was 106 head, 519 pound steers. Bring $2.51 a pound. Winter livestock in Pratt, Kansas, 2,700 head. They called it uneven, $2 lower to $2 higher. Stick out sale of Pratt, Kansas was 59 steers, weighed 605 at 231. That's pretty darn good. Your Zoetis stick out sale of the day was Ogallala Livestock Auction in Ogallala, Nebraska, 3,800 head there. You look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central and look at your best tested weights, and there were many of them. 405 head of 5-weight steers averaged 553 with a weighted average price of 247.19. 661 head of 6-weight steers averaged 645, weighted average price there 234.53. 663 head of 7-weight steers averaged 748 at 201.67. On all them 7 weights, guys, very impressive. 591 head of 8-weight feeder steers in Ogallala averaged 849 with a weighted average price of 184.90. Look at some heifers. 376 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 559, weighted average price 222.90, and 354 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 644, weighted average price 208.79. Give you some stick out sales all around. How about Stockman's Livestock Exchange? Dickinson, North Dakota, the East Barn there sells 58 steers, weighs 618 at 238. Way up north there, guys. How about Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota? Sells some big steers, near beers, 58 head, weigh 1,018 pounds at 175.75. Whoever bought those isn't expecting this fat cattle market to turn south or weaken much here in the coming weeks. How about Ogallala Livestock Auction in Ogallala, Nebraska? They were our Zoetta Stickout sale. Check out this quote from them. 80 head, 642-pound steers at $251. Are you kidding me? But most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Lamona Livestock Auction, Lamona, Iowa. My friend Jason Allen was sending me quotes out of there all day. They had a very impressive sale. 64 steers weigh 876 at 195 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.